Changing minds one thought at a time.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Changing Minds Online Sunday Night Inspirational Call. How you doing, Akina?
I am great, Jessica. I'm looking forward to this wonderful topic. You know, I've been watching your story over the past year, and I know that you were ready to share with the audience, so I'm so excited.
Well, thank you. You know, Akina, one of the things I've been doing over the last few weeks is really just planning out for the new year and setting some really big goals for the new year, planning my schedule out, you know, knowing what I want to create. And we've talked about this. If you didn't listen to our previous shows, go back the last 2 weeks. We talked about, you know, planning for 2016. We talked about what we're doing to get ready in our mindset and our schedules and our lives, what we're doing to set up our year for success and finish this year on a really high-end note. But, you know, one of the things that I've realized is that, you know, it's not only about learning new habits, and new habits are really important, and setting new goals are important, and knowing what's going to be required, like what is the doing around creating your new goals. But it's also about the habits that, or the mindset you're going to bring into the new year. We're going to discuss this more next week. Tonight we wanted to take some time to really just talk a little bit about forgiving ourselves. And you know, forgiveness is really, really important and really powerful. And as we're planning the new year, it's important that we have a fresh start. You know, and as we want and we're planning for growth in our business and growth in our personal lives, professional lives, and increasing the amount of money we have and getting better levels of health and doing things in our body we never thought we could do before, you know, all these things are possible. But it's often said, you know, if you do the same thing that you did this year, you're going to have the same results. Well, no matter what, I mean, I know that no one listening to this call is perfect. I'm not perfect. Akina's not perfect. We're not perfect, right? We've all made mistakes. And I would venture to guess that everyone listening in tonight has made some mistake in the past. And the truth is that oftentimes what we wind up doing is that we every mistake has a consequence, right? So we paid the consequence when we made that mistake, but oftentimes we wind up over and over and over again. Now, it might be, for example, for me, one of my mistakes was that I created a lot of debt in my early 20s, and I'm still paying the consequences of that mistake. Literally, every month I'm sending a check to Visa and MasterCard to pay for the mistake that I made in my early 20s. But a lot of times that it's more than just the fact that we're paying and we're dealing with the consequence that happened, right? We're paying for this, and by not forgiving ourselves, we're blocking blessings that we could be having, and we're blocking opportunities, you know, that we could be receiving. And we're doing all this, and when we're doing this, we're paying over and over and over again. So there's oftentimes a lot more consequence than we actually can see and realize just by looking at the physical, you know, what's created. A lot of there's this mindset that's created. You know, and as you enter into 2016, what I want you to take a look at is to know and understand that wherever your life is today, whether it's really great or whether not it's not really great, you know, whether you've had an amazing year and you've had this year of growth and abundance and extraordinary blessings, you know, or you've had a year that you're ready to, you know, as one of my friends today, she said, I'm so ready to shut the door in 2015. And, you know, it was interesting because what I really wanted to say to her was, well, girl, if you go into 2015, she wanted to shut the door, right? She said, I'm ready to shut the door in 2015. And I was like, oh, well, that's awesome. You know, that's good I'm glad that you're in a good mood. And I didn't really say anything to her, but the truth is what I really wanted to say was, well, girl, if you go into 2016 with the same mindset, with the same expectations, with the same hating, you know, yourself and for past mistakes, the same unforgiveness, the same judgment, the same blame, the same contempt that you're bringing to yourself now, you're going to get the same result in 2016, right? So last year, Akina and I have met once in person, and when we met was actually last year in Times Square, and we watched the ball fall in Times Square together from this amazing restaurant. We had a private viewing of the ball. It was amazing. And one of the things that's interesting is that there's going to be a lot of people, whether or not you're watching the ball fall in New York or you're watching fireworks in different places throughout our country, or you're in another country in another time zone. There's something magic about a new year beginning. But the truth is that transformation is not magic. Transformation is work. So when the ball falls at midnight and New Year's Eve, and for us it's Eastern time, or for me it's not even for Kina, but for me it's Eastern time, and I'm going to be watching the ball fall again, probably for my TV this year, but I'll be watching the ball fall again.
Hello, everyone. Jessica has seemed to just drop off a little bit. While she is coming back, we're going to talk about. We're going to wait on her just a little bit. And, because, that was a wonderful story there. It was a definitely wonderful story. So we want to keep it going, All right, let's see here. So what am I going to be doing while we're waiting on Jessica to get back? That's a good question. See here. Okay. Jessica, are you back with us?
I am. Thank you, Kina. And I don't want to, thank you. I don't know if you've proceeded without me, so I apologize to everyone. My call dropped, so I apologize for the tech issues, and we'll jump right back into things. But, Akina, were you guys talking about something while I was gone, or do you want me to jump back into what I was talking about?
Well, please jump right on in. I told them that we were going to wait till you got back, and you got back right on time.
Perfect. Thanks, guys. Well, thank you again for your understanding, everyone. Sometimes tech issues happen, so, as a business owner, rolling with the punches, right, is part of what we do. So anyway, as what I was saying was that, when it's magic, right, this new year happens, and it really is. When everyone, energetically, when everyone's focused on something, it's a really powerful time to be able to attract. And that's why people set goals and intentions, and really a lot of people start off really, really strong, and then people tend to fall out as the year progresses. But there's something really magnificent about so many people focusing on making their lives better, focusing on setting intentions. Energetically, the vibration energy of the universe changes a little bit, and increases a little bit, and things become possible that might not have been possible. But in order to benefit from that, and in order to really be part of that magic of what that is, it is required that you do some work on yourself. And for me, what I had to come to terms with this year is knowing that a big part of that for me is once and for all forgiving myself for all the past mistakes that I've made. It's so easy, especially when, we do have something like debt, for example, right? So I'm still paying it every month. It's very present in my life. So it's something that easy to say, okay, you know what? I'm going to forgive myself and move on. But then every month, right, it comes every time you want to do something, and okay, well, I can't really do this right now because I have to pay this credit card bill, and if I didn't have to pay it, I could. And right, it starts to kind of eat at you. And I know, and I'm being this honest and this vulnerable, and honestly, because I don't want everyone listening in here to think, okay, I have it all figured out. I mean, this podcast, we've told you before, we're taking you on a journey with us, and I know I'm not the only one who's sitting here, and whether or not it's debt or it's a relationship or what it is, it's something that's eating at you. But if you continue to be in blame and judgment over what you did in the past, and you bring that into 2016, that you don't forgive yourself, you're going to block all of your blessings. You're going to block all of your ability to create, and you're going to really block your access to the magic of what the new year is going to be and what it's going to bring. So tonight, we're really going to focus on the power of forgiveness and just how freeing it can be. It just not only as far as how you feel, but in what you get to create. When you once and for all say, okay, you know what, I'm going to forgive myself for what I did. I'm going to forgive myself. And it's just an amazing, amazing experience. And before I kind of teach you about a meditation I recently learned, I learned this very recently. Akina, I wanted to just invite you to talk about forgiveness as well, because I know that this has been a really big part of your transformation this year as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. You know, when I started this year off, I was in a total different mind space. I knew that this was going to be the year of execution. I started this year off in a way where all things were possible. I started this year off in a way that I thought that, the sky was the limit.
Akina, are you with us? I am having a hard time hearing you. I think that we might have lost Akina. I apologize for all of the tech issues that we're having tonight, guys.
Yes.
Oh, there we go. Akina is back. So,
yes.
So, yeah, sorry about that. Akina, you are back. So why don't you go pick up where you had left off?
Yeah, I forgot about forgiving myself for past mistakes. And, I know you say, how can you forget to do that? And, I mean, it just honestly never crossed my mind that old mistake could be holding me back from my greater, And I went through a weight loss journey last year that I am continuing. But I did make the connection that the things, as I lost weight, I had to start handling the things that came about in order for me to continue on. The different things that you release as you lose weight and as you gain clarity of your life are so profound. And in reality, that's where I really was releasing and forgiving myself for past mistakes, because I had to go back and fix those things. If there was an issue, I had to go back and fix it. If there was a problem, I needed to go back and fix it. If there was, an issue with an individual, I need to make that right. And as I was doing these things, I thought I was just doing problem resolution, but instead I was really forgiving myself. I didn't make the connection that that's what I was really doing. But now that as the year rolls by and I'm in the same spot I was last year, well, no, I'm not. I was in Huntsville last year, and this year I'm in Nashville, and I moved into another elevation, so to speak. Mm-hmm. I'm realizing that, oh my goodness, I'm not carrying the same weight that I was carrying in 2014. I'm not carrying those same burdens that I was carrying in 2014. And when I look back on that, I realized that I had forgiven myself for all those past mistakes. I had cleaned up many of those past issues and past relationships and past breakdowns. And I'm not carrying them anymore. And when I stopped carrying them, then I opened the door for more room for goodness to come into my life, for prosperity to come into my life, for elevation to come into my life. And that is where the connection really hit for me. If I was still carrying that weight, if I was still carrying those burdens, I wouldn't have been able to do the things that I was doing, because I wouldn't be any room for them to come into my life, because I would have had it blocked with all that negativity. But once we get rid of those past mistakes, we open it up for more positivity to move into our lives. What do you think on that, Jessica?
Yeah, absolutely, Kina. It's amazing, and we really do just open ourselves to receiving so much more. And, one of the things I've noticed about you, and I just want to compliment you and also to share with everyone else because it's powerful, is that as soon as you started to forgive yourself, you say that you stopped carrying the weight around it, and you refer to it as the burdens around it, past mistakes. But you've also lost weight. You released body weight. You released body fat. And it's amazing because we think that there's no consequence to carrying around these burdens of the past, but there really is. It affects us on a very physical level. And in the same way, it affects us by taking up space, taking up energy that we could be using to create. When we think about creating what we want, when we're writing goals down, we're making lists of everything that we want, it requires energy to do that. It requires our time, it requires our attention, it requires our efforts, and it also just requires our, when we think about law of attraction, like what we're attracting, right, that energetic attraction. Well, if our space is filled with, things that we blame, judgment about the past, well, then the truth is that that space that we could be using to create from, we're cluttering it. So it's like if you have this beautiful, beautiful canvas to draw this amazing picture, but then every time that you have something that you're in judgment of yourself of, you're cutting that canvas smaller and smaller and smaller until maybe you're left with a piece of paper the size of a business card or a Post-it. And you're supposed to create your entire life on a Post-it or a business card. Well, I don't know about you, but I don't want all my hopes and dreams to fit on a business card. I want an entire beautiful canvas that's huge, a mural. I want to create my life that have everything that I want, not have it fit in such a small and compact area. But if you're taking up space with blame, with judgment, with just really disliking and not loving yourself and unforgiveness for something that happened in the past, you're not going to be able to create from it. So what can we do about it, right? So we've learned now that it's really powerful to forgive yourself. So here's the thing. We think that forgiveness is this really, really big process. And we think that, it has to be something really bad that we did or something really like evil we did or a really big mistake. So last year at this time, we did a call about forgiveness. And one of the things I suggested on that call, and one of the things I did a year ago, is I love campfires. I had a campfire in my backyard today. And for me, a fire is really cleansing, right? So I know a lot about Eastern meditation and philosophy and feng shui. So a fire is supposed to cleanse. So I said, okay, I'm going to write down all of my mistakes, everything I ever did that I didn't like, everything I'm in judgment of myself over. I'm going to write down everything bad. And I use the word bad about myself. And just the fact that I was saying that kind of shows I wasn't really ready yet to fully forgive myself. But I wrote everything down and I burned it on paper and I said, okay, it's gone. I've released it. The truth is I didn't release it, and it doesn't need to be such a project. And the more that I've learned about forgiveness and the more that I've evolved in my own personal journey, what I've realized is it's just about really letting go of judgment and really surrendering that ego. So, and just knowing, and this sounds cliche, but it's really true, and when you get connected to it, as simple as it is, it's really, really powerful. And just knowing that at all times, we are doing, and we have always done the best that we could at that time with what information and skills and resources we had and mindset we had and what we knew at that time. And right, all of us would say, I'm sure, Kina, you, me, everybody living would say, if I only knew, right? If I knew what I knew today 10 years ago, if I only knew what I knew, well, you didn't know what you know now then. You knew what you knew then. And you made your decisions based upon what you knew then. And it's different than what you know now. And, right, hindsight is always 20/20, but the truth is we want to judge ourselves, our person of the past, by what we know today, and it just doesn't work. And you don't have to go through this really big process. You don't have to do this crazy clearing exercise. And I've done exercises where I've learned to clear, and I've learned to write letters, and I've learned to release. And I said, it's really doesn't need to be that complicated. You can really just be as simple as this letting go. And just knowing, letting go of blame, letting go of judgment. So I learned this really amazing exercise from Joe Vitale, and I spoke about a book I was reading by him, The Secret of Attracting Money. And then I was reading that book last week, and I talked a little bit about it. One of the things that he taught us in that book is a really, really simple meditation. And he explained it that, and I'm just going to say what it is, and then I'll explain, what his explanation was, or I'll summarize his explanation. And the meditation is simply to say, I love you. Please forgive me. I'm sorry, and thank you. In any order. So you can reverse the order, you can change the order. You know, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you. Or I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, thank you, in any order you want. And it sounds so simple, but what he said, you know, what that's really doing and saying is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the past mistakes I made, you know, when I didn't know because of my ignorance, because of, you know, I wasn't who I was today. I'm sorry for the past things that I've created around everything in my life. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Like, forgive me now. Forgive me. And you're talking to yourself, or you're talking to God when you're doing this. I've actually done this meditation where I was talking to God, and I've done this meditation where I was talking to myself. And I was saying, God, forgive me. And there was times when I was actually speaking to the person I used to be that still exists within me. From the perspective of who I am today, saying, please forgive me. And I did this meditation speaking from the perspective of the person I used to be to who I am today, and who I am today speaking to that other person, saying, look, I'm sorry for everything I did. Please forgive me, and being genuine. Forgive it. I didn't know any better. You know, I love you. And, you know, telling myself I love myself. You know, I did the best I could, and I wasn't perfect, and please forgive me for that. And then thank you. And the thank you is the closure. It's the knowing that it's finished, that in this moment it's finished. You know, and you don't have to be Christian to appreciate this, but the last words of Jesus on the cross was, it is finished, right? The work is done. It is done. And so when I end my meditations, I actually like to use some sort of closure, like saying, you know, thank you. It's finished. You know, so when I pray and I ask for something, and when I set an intention, and sometimes I'll, you know, read intention list or goal list, and I'll just read it. I'll say, you know, I intend to create X, Y, Z. I'll say thank you. And at the end, thank you in advance for creating these things. And it's just making it real. And I had heard him do this meditation, and it was interesting. I was running a marathon, and I had my phone tucked away in a bag inside of my pocket, and I couldn't, ironically, turn the phone off. And I was listening to the audiobook while I was running, and he decided for 20 minutes he was going to take us through this guided meditation of, I love you, please forgive me, I'm sorry, thank you. And at the time I was running on 2 sprained ankles. If you were following my personal page on Facebook, you'll know I needed that race for my 30 by 30, and I had come to the conclusion it would hurt to run but not cause me any more serious injury. So I ran a full marathon on 2 sprained ankles. And I was in pain, and I didn't really want to hear this meditation, but I just literally couldn't get to my phone to turn it off. I said, forget it, I'll just listen to it. And I've loved it ever since. It was powerful. I mean, it opened up so much for me. I'm so glad that I did. And for 20 minutes while I was running, I heard him say this, and I loved it. I realized that there's so much power in this meditation. I've been doing it every day since, and I've just already started to feel, you know, my thought process, my judgment disappear. And, like, when we talk about really forgiveness, it's really just letting go of judgment and just, you know, stop assigning things that you did as bad or wrong, and just accept where you are now and create from the space that you have. And that's been my experience, and I really wanted to share that with everyone, because I know that what was, and I'm saying was because it's not now, but what was blocking my breakthrough in areas of my life where I haven't had a breakthrough yet was that I was not in forgiveness of myself. I was blaming and judging, most importantly, judging where I am in my life. And I know now that that is not powerful, and that if I want to create something amazing, that I had to. I'm saying I had to because I did it already, but I had to let go of blame and judgment. So, Akina, that is my piece about forgiveness, and anything you want to add to that?
Wow, that was powerful, Jessica, you know. And I want to thank you for sharing your story and for being so vulnerable. You know, a lot of people needed to hear that tonight. You know, a lot of people needed to know that the feelings that they've been feeling are not in vain, that they are there for a reason, because they're getting ready to move into their next level. They're getting ready to move in upward mobility, that it's okay to have those feelings, because at the end of the day, that's where you are getting pressed from becoming cold to becoming the diamond that you're supposed to become. We all going to have obstacles. We're all going to have struggles. But at the end of the day, if we go through this and go through the process, we will come out shining. We will come out brilliant. We will come out bold. And this is what we are talking about today, letting go of our past mistakes so that we can come out the better person, so we can come out ready for the fight, so we can come out being the person that we need to be to reach the goals that we are supposed to reach those higher heights, to reach, the ultimate goal of being the ideal. Jessica, you really, really touched me tonight because, there was a time when we wouldn't have put it out there on the table like that. But, you laid it out there. You let the people know that, even though the struggle is real, the struggle can be won. So thank you, Jessica.
Absolutely, Kenan. I love that. It is a real struggle, and it can be a struggle that we have to do every day. And, forgiveness, and I like how you said, it does happen every day. It doesn't happen just once. You're not going to forgive yourself just once. For me, every time the bill comes in the mail, right, I forgive myself again. And that's okay. It's not a one-time thing. It's an everyday choice, an everyday decision. And know that there's going to be times when it's really easy, and there's going to be times when it's really hard. And there's going to be times when you're really successful, and there's going to be times when you find yourself still in judgment. And you know what? It's okay, because you're not perfect, and I'm not perfect, and we started off our podcast saying that. And the cool thing about it is you don't need to be. You don't need to be perfect. But being in that process of constantly getting better that's what's required. And the universe recognizes and loves and responds when we're trying to grow. When we are growing as a person, the universe grows and expands our influence. So that's really what it's about. It's not about being perfect. It's just about being a little better every day. And really a big part of that is being a little bit less judgmental of yourself every day. So, Akina, unless there's anything you want to add on that note, we're getting very close to 9:30, so I wanted to wind our call down for the evening.
Oh, well, I want to thank you for your story, Jessica. And, if something we said tonight resonated with you, please, please, please go to changingmindsonline.com and get our archives. And, of course, you can go to iTunes, Stitcher, Tuned In, and, of course, our YouTube channel. And we would love to know what you think, because what we do for you.
Absolutely. And again, there's a little housekeeping before we close tonight. We've said this before in our podcast, but we want to remind everybody that we have changed the time of our podcast for next year. So we're getting really close to the new year. And speaking about the new year, since we talked about that on our podcast today, many of you have known that for the past year and a half, Akina and I have been doing this call consistently, and every Sunday night, Thursday night, we did a Sunday night inspirational call. We did a Thursday night Empowering Women series call, and the time has historically been and is now at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So this year I will be 30, and in a acknowledgement of my old age, we will be moving the call, and I'm just kidding, guys. But I do have different habits than I had when we first started this call, and one of them is getting to bed earlier and waking up earlier. And to respect that, we've moved this call to 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We also have some exciting news. So our Thursday night Empowering Women series is going to stay the same. Our Sunday night inspirational call, that's traditionally a call we talk about really inspiration, and we're going to focus this year mostly on mindset. That call is going to be moved to Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So we're going to have our Empowering Women series on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be having our Empowering Mindset show at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Tuesdays. And the most amazing thing of all, one thing I'm really, really excited about, is we're going to have a brand new podcast. It's going to be our first ever Christian series. It will be a series where, Akina and I are both Christian. We've openly talked about God, but we haven't made any of our podcasts Christian, and we haven't taught from the Bible in any of our podcasts previously. And we know, and I firmly believe from the bottom of my heart that, our Empowering Women series, we're talking about business, and we're, in our mindset call, we're talking obviously about mindset, right? But for me, I don't separate my faith from that. I believe that it's connected. I believe that in order to be successful in business, I must have the skills, and we're going to teach those to you in our Empowering Women series. You must have the mindset. We're going to teach that in our Empowering Mindset calls. But I also believe we must have the faith, because I believe that power that we have to really use our mindset and use the skills and to create something amazing, I personally believe that power comes from God, and I can't separate that any longer. And for me, this podcast has been about authenticity. It's been about vulnerability. And like we've said, this has been a big part about finding ourselves and taking you with us on the journey. So we are going to be doing an Empowering Faith call at 8 p.m. That's going to be on Sunday night. So that'll be taking the place of this call, or really this call is moving, but it'll be taking the time of this call. So you're going to have the pleasure of hearing 3 and not 2 podcasts next year. And we're really excited about it. We have some amazing guests lined up. So, tune in next year. It's going to be Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday, 8 p.m., our Empowering Faith, Empowering Mindset, and our Empowering Women series calls. So that's about it. Kate, is there anything you wanted to add about, what your take is and why we moved the calls, and anything on that, or do you want us, or are you ready to let everyone know that we love them?
Yes. We are changing. We're going through a facelift, so you'll be seeing new flyers, new colors, new different looks, and you will be seeing us more. Most of the time you see our logo, but you will actually see pictures of us now. So that'll be something new. So we're trying to do new things so that you can connect with us as well as the brand. So we appreciate all of our listeners, and we look forward to meeting all of our new listeners. And with that, Jessica, let's close down.
Well, everyone who's listened to this podcast before knows I personally like to end my part of the podcast the same way, and just let you know I love you guys. I am so grateful for you. Thank you so much for trusting me and allowing me to be part of your journey of making your life better. And without you, I couldn't do this, and I do it for you. So God bless. Make it a really powerful week. And I am looking forward to, I believe next Sunday is our very last call this year. We will not have an Empowering Women series this Thursday or next Thursday in honor of Christmas and New Year's. But we are super excited about having just a really amazing year next year. So we'll be with you guys next Sunday.
Good night, everyone.